How's it going, everybody? Today we have with us Steve Sandoval. He is an audio engineer and keyboard player. He is a co-founder and band leader for the Detroit Knights, an event band that has played for multiple weddings, events such as the LA Zoo, and has a residency at the Lighthouse, a local restaurant at Hermosa Beach. He has audio engineered sporting events at stadiums such as the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum, Banc of California, and the most recent stadium, SoFi. So welcome, Steve. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. This is different. I don't think I've ever done anything like this.
That's good. Different is always good. Thank you for driving out from Long Beach, right? That's where you
Shout out to the LBC.
Yeah, LBC. I've been out there for 10 years now. Yeah.
How do you like it?
Love it.
Yeah.
I was born and raised here. Well, not born here, but like pretty much raised here in the valley. And after a while, I just kind of got sick of the heat. I realized, And then Long Beach just felt right to me. I was doing a lot of stuff out there at the time at the former Home Depot. Now it's no longer the Home Depot. I don't even know what's it called now.
It was.
I don't know.
In Carson, right?
In Carson. Yeah.
I forgot what it was called before, but yeah.
I forgot.
Now weird companies are buying stadiums.
Yeah. It's changed so much. I think it went to StubHub, and then now it became.
You're right.
It was StubHub.
Infinity or I don't remember. Something like that.
Dignify. I don't know.
Dignify Stadium. I think something like that. Yeah.
I should know this because I'm a Galaxy fan, so I should know this. And I know you're an LAFC fan.
I
comes with the job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of got put in there.
But I will say this: like my old roommate, he's a huge LAFC fan. He tells me all the time, like, dude, you got to go to a game. You don't understand, like, the vibe that you get there is insane.
Yeah, I honestly like I never worked for Galaxy. I worked for Chivas USA back in the day, but I've seen Galaxy games, and compared to like LAFC, the fan base is insane. Like the energy there is just constant. Like you can't. I mean, I had friends who were Galaxy fans.
It's almost like Dodgers Angels, right? Like
yes. That's a great way to compare it because, like, Dodger fans are crazy. You go to Angels, they're very conservative. They're fans, but they're not going to get as loud and
they're like.
I don't want to say rowdy. Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to the Dodgers at the World Series right now.
For real, man. That was a great game yesterday. Did you see that?
Yes. Bueller's a monster.
Dude, I watched it, but I was like trying to care for my baby at the same time. So it's like, all right, don't look too much, kid. Like, I don't want him to get so used to the TV. That's just a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't watch TV. I tell my wife, I'm like, baseball is awesome, amazing, like most sports. But I'm like, that's 4 hours of like 130 some plus games per year.
Yep.
I can't do that, man.
Yeah.
I'll do the highlights and then I'll watch the playoffs.
Yeah. And I'm pretty much the same. I'd rather go to a game because I feel like that's just more entertaining.
Yeah.
All in the middle stuff. It's just way cooler. And then again, I think a lot of it has to do with the energy.
Yeah, it is because I don't think I would ever watch a regular season game for the Dodgers, but I would definitely go to a game because it's just fun. Like it's a fun environment. But definitely the playoffs I'm watching all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, talking about stadiums, I think you have some pretty cool jobs or have had. As a sound engineer, tell us, how did you get started with sound?
Well, I think honestly, I got to give credit to where credit is due. And I think that's the church, as far as I think where it started all. Yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of in church, I mean, I didn't come from a Christian household, whatever. But eventually when we started going to church, most kids kind of get involved. It's either music or something else. And I think for me, it started with music, but sound just had a particular thing for me. And I remember asking this guy at the church to show me what whatever. And then looking back at it, man, what he showed me was not right. Like, after going to school and studying it and everything.
Where did you go to school?
Can I say the name?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in the days, it was called Los Angeles Recording Workshop. Now it's called Los Angeles Recording School. Some people just know it as LARS.
Oh yeah, we know about it.
Yeah, it's a very common place that a lot of people go to. But when I was going there, it was called LARW, or Los Angeles Recording Workshop. And honestly, if I were to tell anyone if they asked me, hey, what do you think about this? I'd say choose otherwise. Like, don't go there. It's expensive. They promise a lot of stuff. And for some people, it works out. I mean, it's a very, very small percentage, but for the most part, it doesn't. And a lot of people just end up getting out of there with a really high student loan. And then, they're working at, I don't know, Office Max just because they can't find a gig. And it's they promise you gigs, but it just doesn't happen. And I hate to like throw them under the bus right here and so public, but
No, I mean, you're being honest. That's the thing about arts, though.
Yeah.
Is like to go to school for it is so expensive.
It is.
Photography, design, sound, film. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's all expensive, and every school promises you a job.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, every school says, "Hey, you come here, we're going to get you a job."
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent, they might help you, but at the end of the day, it's like it's your grind and your hustle, whatever you put into it. You know?
I mean, and honestly, I think for me, it was I was lucky to be where I was when I was. I mean, I knew a guy, and I think he'd be great for you guys to have him here. I think he's my mentor as far as audio goes. I bumped into him at some place in Burbank, and he says, "What are you doing?" And at the time, I was helping out a church, and he's like, "What you been up to?" I'm studying at school. I gotta do an internship, or else I can't graduate. And he's like, "What kind of an internship?" And I told him, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm the manager at Center Staging in Burbank." Yeah, I was like, cool. He goes, "You want to go do some hours right now?" Yes. So literally just right then and there. I don't even know what time it was. I was like, I canceled everything that I had to do. Back then I had my flip phone, and canceled everything. And I went and did some, free work for Center Staging. I did it for about 2 months and stepped away for like 2 more months. And I was working at some office. And they called me back and they're like, "Hey, we're hiring. You want to work?" I'm like, "Yes, I'll do it.
that's so cool.
Let's do it." Like I guess that's kind of how I got my first step into what is live sound. I mean, I studied recording. That's my background as far as, schooling. But really doing Center Staging, I don't know if you guys know Center Staging, but Center Staging is where, most of the bands that are going to hit or go on tours or if they're going to go to any of the local TV shows, that's where they go rehearse. So you get a really good feel of what it's like to mix a band on a venue, like it feels like it's a live band, so you kind of have to basically kind of learn your chops really fast. And if you want to get in there and work with them, you have to hustle. I think that's the one thing. It's for sure. You kind of have to figure out how to get your way in there to make sure that like, all right, how am I going to work with these bands, or how am I going to get into like, and you got to just kind of ask like, hey, do they have their engineer? If they don't, cool. Hey, can I mix for them? Do they want to hire an engineer? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just want to rehearse and they don't want anyone there. So I got lucky, and here and there I got to work with some cool people there. Did it for about 2 years, and that was my first initial step with live. It's different. It's way different.
Can you mention some of the
Artists?
cool bands that you worked with?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest bands I ever got to work with was Earth, Wind & Fire. It was 2005. It was with Earth, Wind & Fire in Chicago. They were doing, they were getting prepared for their concert that they were going to be recording at the Greek. So I got to check out pretty much all of those rehearsals and, the stage designs and everything. And I didn't actually mix for them, but I was able to be there and just kind of babysit because they have their own engineer. But then like the actual first person I ever mixed for in that studio was, I don't know if you guys know this, and I'm going to throw my singing skills, which is probably a bad thing here, but Cheryl Lynn.
I have not heard.
No one knows who Cheryl Lynn is until you hear the song. I mean, she sang like, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe more songs, and she had a world-class band. She had Greg Fillinganes, I think is keyboard player. She had Lil Jon, the drummer, not the rapper.
Not the rapper.
And then the guitar player, I can't remember his name right now, but he's Ray Parker Jr. He's the guy that wrote Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. So she had a killer band. I was impressed by the full band, and the whole time they're playing all this different stuff, and I didn't know what she was. I knew who she was. And then the last song, dip-a-dip, 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 dip-a-dip. We know that song. Oh yeah. See what I'm saying? You hear the song, you're like, oh yeah, that's the jam. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, like that's who you are. This is awesome. That was one of the first people that I ever worked with. So that's always a very memorable one. Let's see who else. Britney Spears, season 4 of American Idol, and season 5, I think. Lindsay Lohan, when she was trying to do an audio.
She tried to sing.
Yeah,
she had a singing career. I think she had. Yeah. I don't remember the song. She had a video and everything. Let's see. who's that? Hoobastank, I think.
Yeah, Hoobastank.
Probably one of the coolest guys I've ever met. I mean, it's a lot. Smokey Robinson was one of them. He was in there quite often, and I got to be around them. Babyface, that was another cool people. So yeah, man. I mean, I could go on.
The list goes on and on.
That was one of the cool places because it was very repetitive. You'd see a lot of cool people, and if you were lucky, or if you were just kind of one of the guys that they would put in there, you would be able to work with them. You would be able to do stuff for them. But for the most part, a lot of us. And I say a lot of us because a lot of the times I was one of those guys, whereas we were just setting up the studios and we walk away. That was it. Just set up the speakers, set up the system for them, mic everything up, and then you don't work with them. But every once in a while, you got the chance. Yeah, they need somebody. Can you go in there and help them out? It's yes, heck yeah, I'm down. That's how you gotta want it. That's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and did that ever lead to gigs outside of the studio per se?
You know what? It didn't. It didn't. I actually ended up leaving center staging on it was real bad terms. I didn't actually leave. I got fired, and it sounds bad, but it wasn't like I did anything wrong. It was management changed. I had just gotten back from a surgery. I'd been out for 2 months, and the new manager just kind of thought why do we have you here? And I was like, I get it. A lot of this work requires a lot of you actually moving things around and carrying things, and I just wasn't able to. So I got fired, and it kind of hurt. Actually, it really did hurt.
Did you like your job?
Of course, it wasn't a job. It was you go do audio. You're there because you love what you do, and this isn't. You're working with artists, and a lot of people I never got starstruck for that matter, but it was just cool because you were surrounded by cool people, great musicians, and people that you probably listened to or grew up to, and now you're I love this stuff, But it happened. And what ended up happening, again, that guy that I met, his name's Luis Montes. After I left center staging, he was still really cool with me. He was a great friend of mine. And he would do gigs all the time outside of there. So whenever he couldn't, he would call. Hey, Steve, there's this company that needs this. Do you want to go do it? Call them. Cool. And because he was my referral, I'd always get it. I'd always get it. Hey, come in and do this. I'm like, okay, cool. Come in. And then that's basically how I started freelancing more and more. And at the time, this was 2006, I think. It was, I was doing that. And then I was working for a school. I was an admin for a school, and I did that for 2 years or so. So I was doing working normal, 8 to 5. And then if I could get a gig anywhere, I would get, anything I can get. I mean, at that point I was working with Karime Lozano. She's a Hispanic actress. And she was trying to do her music career. Another lady by the name of Karina Rico. She was kind of known too. Let me see who else. I don't know, but
and you were doing what were you doing for them?
Basically, they would be doing clubs. So they were doing the Viper Room or the Mint. Let me see where else. I don't think they ever did the. That's the famous one that everyone goes to.
Yeah, the Viper Room is
no, there's the one that's in the corner. I see the place, but I can't
Elevon?
remember. No. It was one of the first places where Guns N' Roses blew up and Van Halen blew up.
Oh yeah, that's the whiskey.
The Whiskey a Go-Go. That's
Yeah.
the one. So I went in there a few times too, and clubs like those, it's a whole nother ballgame. It's a whole nother ballgame, and it helped my chops. I remember walking in a few times and thinking that I knew what I was doing, and then the house guy was like, "Dude, get out of the way." I was like, "Oh man!"
But that's how you learn, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what school's for, to be honest.
Yeah.
School's kind of to teach you, I feel
The
the
basics.
basics.
You learn the basics.
Then you got to meet someone. And then once you're in the job, that's when you learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I tell people I spent $17,000 at school to learn how to coil cables. That's it.
I'm glad you learned how to coil cables.
And
Yes.
that's your advertisement for the school.
Yeah, guys. But yeah, that's the one thing you do got to learn eventually when you're out there and you're really gigging for these huge companies. Then that's the first thing they expect you to know. You got to know how to coil cable. If you don't know how to coil cable, chances are you're not going to get it. And everyone will tell you there's one way, but most people say there's two ways, and I don't know how many ways. But
I got in trouble for that once. Like I think I was doing it like right here.
Oh yeah,
they're like, bro, you're gonna mess up the cable.
That one hurts my soul when I see it, bro. I will stop people at church. Like, no, just leave it there. Don't worry about it. I got it for you. Don't worry about it.
I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
No, you leave it there. No, it's okay. No, trust me. Just leave it there.
You can move that box.
Those aren't cheap.
Yeah. So, but you're right. I think it was one of those instances where you're humbled because you kind of think you know it, but you don't. You're still kind of learning the thing, and the thing about live audio is that every room is different. So you're walking into a room that's not acoustically designed for something, or it's just been kind of designed to sound different or whatever. So that's where I messed up. As I walked into one of the venues thinking I could do it, and then, like I said, the guy just kind of was like, dude, let me help you. And he came in and he like just made it sound so much better. And I just thought, hey, all right, well, I guess I got to learn more, And I did. I mean, eventually I got sick of working at a school. Literally it was August 1st, actually. I remember August 1st, 2008. And I woke up and I'm just like, I don't want to go to work anymore. Like, this isn't what I want.
That's me every day.
Yeah. I mean, I could feel, I could understand that to some extent. And no, I remember just sitting there and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. And I went in that day before I did any sort of work. I typed up my letter of resignation. I gave them a month to find somebody to replace me, and I would train them, and then I'd be out. And that's exactly what happened. September 1st, 2008. That's when I started my career as strictly freelance, and that's what it's been
since then. You've only done freelancing.
Yes, up until now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still have the flexibility to kind of go in and out whenever I don't want to say whenever I choose, but I can, work my schedule around. Now I'm part-time at a church, and I'm actually like on staff, like I'm there and.
You're on the W-2, bro.
Yes, they're taxing me.
No, on the W-2, not the 1099.
Not the 1099.
No, not the 1099. Yeah, that's been gone for a while now. Like, if you still have a 1099, you're lucky, because the way California laws have changed the last like 3 to 4 years, a lot of companies no longer do 1099. A lot of companies will now kind of hire you with this. I want to say they call you like an interim employee, where basically they can kind of you can decide when to work, and when you don't want to work, you're technically an employee, but you don't get all the benefits of an employee. So you don't get any vacation, you don't get any medical, you get none of that. But you're still going to get taxed. You're an employee. You don't have any rights, and that's because of California law, man. They've changed a lot of things that it's kind of ruined the freelance movement for a lot of people.
And Prop 22 has something to do with. Kind of, maybe.
Well, it started with AB5. AB5 was the one that actually changed everything about 2 years ago. But prior to that, because of a lot of the lawsuits that were happening from freelancers for companies, a lot of companies decided they wanted to protect themselves before it got to this point. AB5 kind of came and changed all that thing. And now Prop 22 is trying to help with that and keeping certain people as freelancers, but not everyone. So Prop 22 doesn't really help out audio guys, photographers, or any sort of gig workers like, creative or whatever. But it helps out like Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, the food delivery people, stuff like that. That's who it helps. It doesn't actually help everyone else. And I could be wrong, but from what I've read, that's really what it is. So Prop 22, I can't really speak much into it in the sense of like, would it be beneficial for us as audio engineers? I don't know. Or photographers or videographers? I don't know.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about just your journey going into this industry. What are some kind of hard lessons that you had to learn through this process? Like, obviously, you had to put in a lot of time before you actually got, quote unquote, a paid gig. What are some things that you would recommend to that person that's out there and saying, hey, I want to do what you do. I want to get into the audio engineer world, either doing live sound, FOH, or even doing broadcast mixing or anything like that. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on our audience, right? Because I think if our audience is we're going to say Christian or believers, and start there. start with the church. Like, seriously, whatever you can do to gain some kind of knowledge at church, and then also putting God first. I hate, it sounds cliche, right? As a Christian, put the Lord first, and then, he will grant you the desires of your heart. But yeah, I think I knew early on that I wasn't going to be a great keyboard player. Like, I just knew. So that's why I chose audio.
Which are pretty good, in my opinion.
I think I can defend myself, I
can keep up.
Yeah, I can keep up. But if they like look at me and they go solo, it's like, oh yeah, that's where you go, No, not at all. But I defend myself, but I don't think I'm great, And I know a lot of guys out here, like, especially you guys had Daniel here. It's like, Daniel, dude, that guy's a monster.
I don't know what they feed that guy. Dude.
I know. He's tiny, but man, he can destroy you on that.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. But anyways, I do say, put God first, because there was a point in my life where I felt like, I was doing really well. I was getting some pretty cool gigs, and I had been, I did a little bit of traveling at that point. I hadn't done most of the travel, but really I felt like I was at a point now where I just wasn't getting any gigs. It was like a good struggle where it just kind of stopped for like, I don't know, maybe like 2 months and a half. Like, rent was due, and I've been living on my own for quite a while, and I had to kind of figure it out. And I remember I didn't know what I was going to do, and all I did was just get on my knees and just kind of break down and just kind of was like, you know what, God, it's you. Like, I'm not going to feel like I'm the one that's been doing this whole time. I'm done with this. I'm going to just let it go. And I remember just kind of feeling at peace with that. And also the other thing was that I think I was traveling a lot and missing church, which sounds kind of dumb, but I was missing church. And I felt like my priorities were kind of screwed up at the time. And I figured, there's ways that you can serve in the church. There's ways that you can help in the church. There's ways that you can feed your soul. And I wasn't having any of it. So I just kind of felt like I needed to choose my priorities in that aspect. And the moment I did, it changed. It really did change. Things just kind of started picking up. Things just kind of, I was getting calls, and I think at that point was when I kind of did more traveling, but I was always around to be at church or serve or figure out a way where I could, find some kind of spiritual guidance, whether that meant like talking to my pastor or somebody or whatever. But I don't know if that answers, but I honestly, I think that if you are in that sense, if you are in this industry, but you're also a Christian, like, stay rooted. Stay rooted in the fact that you believe that he is your soul, like, provider, because he really is. And as much as, yeah, you're smart, yeah, you're talented, dude, at any given point, like, if you stray away too far, your blessings are going to go away too. Like, I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, that's really good, because actually one of the biggest things that I think as humans we struggle with, or at least I have struggled with, like, hey man, the Lord asks for 10%, give him your 10%. There's times where you're just like, man, God, like, this is the last thing I have, or this is, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna trust you with this. And somehow, some way, miraculously, he always provides. And I think that's
goes through,
yeah. And I think it's a very, very important kind of, I won't say concept, or a very important just way of being, just like understand, like, hey, like, put the Lord first, and a lot of things do come.
Yeah, I had an epiphany actually this week. I was reading a book, and it's a book on like CEOs and their stories, pretty much. And one of the CEOs,
is it Tim Ferriss's book?
No, it's How I Built This. It's a new book by Guy Raz.
I love
the podcast.
Yeah, I love. How I Built
great
This.
podcast.
It's a great podcast.
I'm reading his book, and one of the CEOs says, I asked myself about my current job, and I said, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? The obvious answer was no. And then he said something that just hit me like a buzz. It's like, then I probably shouldn't do this tomorrow. Wow. And there's like this faith aspect. Even if you're not a believer or a Christian, there's this thing about faith as an artist. You mentioned it, that you woke up and you quit your job and you kind of just took that dive to say, you know what? Not only am I going to rely on God, but I'm going to go all in with my art, right? And I think it's crazy that we have to have faith in the industries that we want to be in.
Yeah. I mean, just to add into that, I got a call once to work with Snoop Dogg, right? And everyone's like, hey, Snoop Dogg, you know? And I thought, okay, how many, like, what is it? You know, and they said it's like 5 days in San Diego. And how much does it pay? It pays this much. Oh, yeah. You know, I'm down. Yeah, let's do it. And then the guy goes, hey, do you know how to do this, this, and this, and this? And I said, yeah. I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, yeah. But and you're right. I think a lot, I mean, okay, some people could say, well, you're lying. You know, it's like, yeah, maybe, but.
Well, it's like half a life be like, well, yes, I'll know by then.
Yes, you know, and I did, and I tried to kind of figure out what it was, and then I kind of did my research on it, and knew enough to kind of just like mess my way through it. But point being that I took the gig, and it went well. But I remember every morning before I would go to the venue, I'd get up and I'd pray, and I'd get in my car and I would just say, God, give me grace, give me wisdom. That was like my prayer. God, give me grace, give me wisdom. And because I felt like, well, one, I was going to be working with a bunch of people who I've never met. And then two, are probably going to be high most of the time. And then the other one was, I don't fully know what I'm going to do. So just give me wisdom, Lord. And that was it. So, I mean, it was a risk, but that risk paid off. Yeah. And it paid off many times. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of people that have never stepped into this, to be fully aware that if you're not risking to fail, or you're not willing to take the risk to fail, you never know if you're actually gonna do something dope, or who you're gonna work with, or where you're gonna be. But it requires a lot of risk, and it requires you to just have guts and not actually knowing what's gonna happen. And
and also like saying yes.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you that I went to go see, I didn't go see Snoop Dogg. I actually went to go see Edwin Carranza. I don't know if you know him. He's a bass player.
Yes.
And
Edwin's a legend here in the Valley.
Yeah. He's like we all look up to him.
We all look to Edwin Carranza. Shout out. You'll be
the funny thing is I've known Edwin since he was a kid. So I knew him before he blew up.
Yeah.
And he would come to the house all the time, hang out, and he was just learning how to like play bass more. And I know his teacher, Chris Martinez, is like, he was my roommate for a really long time. Chris was his teacher. And
yeah, I know Chris. I actually wanted to go play golf with him, and he's like, hey, let's go play golf. I'm like, let's do it. And then he told me the day. I'm like, I can't. And I was recording a podcast that day because of that. And I was like, man.
Well, let's get the plug, bro. Let's get the plug. But anyway, I went to go see Edwin, but Snoop Dogg was playing for Snoop Dogg. And I didn't know what to expect. I've never, I didn't go to many concerts, and you're there, and I think there was like a person before playing, and then Snoop Dogg comes out. As soon as he comes out, all you see like the horizon of people, it's a bunch of smoke just starts rising up. I get home and my mom's like, where you been? I was like, I don't know how to explain this.
Yep, that is very, very accurate.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, very accurate. I remember after that gig, I just kind of thought, I'm probably going to be a little bit more selective as to what artists I work with, just because not that I felt bad or whatever. I just kind of thought, I don't want to be around it. That was my main thought. I don't want to be around it.
Yeah. And now you've obviously been selective since then. You've probably chosen to choose other things to do, not do. But now you're working on a lot of stadium work, right?
Yeah. And honestly, now it's like the coolest for me, especially and I got to say the reason I think it's cool is because I don't have to lift up speakers. I don't have to like lug around a whole bunch of stuff as I used to. I worked, there's a company out there called Rat Sound. Rat Sound is like the biggest touring company, and they did a lot. They do pretty much any, if not all, but I don't want to say all, but they do a large amount of the tours out there. And a lot of their work is grind. Especially like if you're not one of their head engineers or their monitor engineers, and it takes forever to get to become that with them. And I wasn't with them long enough to ever get to that point. I think I became a patch master, which just meant like I'm plugging in all this stuff. That's about it. But a lot of that was just grunt work. Eventually, and now I work. I was working with ATK too at the ATK Audio Tech. They're in Valencia, and between that and the church where I'm at now, that's pretty much all I work with. So with ATK has like a lot of the contracts with a lot of these venues, and they call us. And it started out with Poly Pavilion at UCLA. That was like one of the first venues I walked into when they had just remodeled it, and they're like, we need a guy here more often. And I was available, like, do you want to be that guy? It's like, sure, this is great. Just watch sports, basketball, volleyball. And it doesn't require me to lift or prepare anything other than like a microphone and 2 small little speakers, and then just go. They're like, somebody calls it cute, and I'm like, it's cool. You do have to EQ. You do have to know what the system is like. Like if you don't know what the system is and you walk in and something happens, yeah, then it gets crazy. But luckily, I know enough to like if something's wrong, I can go look and figure it out. I know the venue well enough now, and then that became the project manager for ATK for that thing. He also has Rose Bowl, and then he eventually was really tight with the production people, and then that opened up Coliseum, which kind of was a conflict because obviously we're working for UCLA and now we have USC.
Let's go Trojans.
Oh man, I won't get into this because I mean actually
Andrew's girlfriend graduated.
Yeah, my girlfriend graduated from USC. I was like, I never had a choice like UCLA. I was leaning more towards UCLA, and then I started dating her, so I kind of have no choice now.
And I grew up watching Reggie Bush and
yeah. Of course, and I mean, USC's teams, like for the most part, they're always crazy. They're always good teams. And I just kind of started working with UCLA first. So that's kind of why, started like rooting for the Bruins. And then eventually now we're working for USC too. So we had to change our chant, and it's like, well, if we're at USC, then go Trojans, it's like, fight on. But, if we're with Bruins, we're just screaming something else. So it's an unfortunate thing that we kind of have to sway back and forth. And I mean, not unfortunate because it's great. You're watching a game and you're doing sound.
That's so cool.
It's freaking amazing, Then that also happened once they tore down the old LA Sports Arena and they built that new one. I remember asking my boss, like, hey, do you know anything about that? He goes, no, nothing yet. And then as it was like kind of finishing up, I go, hey, if we're going to do anything? He goes, we got it. I was like, you lied. And he goes, no, we got it. And I was like, that's awesome, and I didn't want to ask, and I don't know if I actually did or didn't, I mean. But I do remember he just kind of said, you're going to be one of my first calls. And I thought, sick. So even before they opened up the venue, it was him and me and another guy. And we were like the first ones to go in there and really look at it, walk around, listen to everything, check out where all the amps were. Like we didn't actually install anything. We just came in and commissioned it. That's it. We're like, all right, it's good to go. It's still not really good to go even till now. There's a lot of things wrong with it. But, dude, I'm at Banc of California. Like, to me, that was amazing.
That's so cool. Asking for a friend, but do you get tickets?
Always like,
plug it right there.
Plug it in, man. No. Unfortunately, that was like from the get-go, man. Like that was the one thing they kind of told us. Hey, you guys can get discounts on this. You guys can get discounts on that. Whatever you want, we can get you this. But do not ask for tickets. The team frowns upon that. And we're just like, okay, cool. Never going to ask.
It is what it is.
No, you got to lay the foundation first, You got to let them know. Like, if it's in gray ground, you're just like, so.
I mean, you always got to ask.
I mean, yeah. But honestly, I think if I didn't have my boss there, and I don't think he'll watch this, so hopefully. I mean, if I didn't have my boss there, I think if I were like the one kind of doing it, I would probably still ask, just because I know him. He's like very cut and dry. He just doesn't
professional.
Like, yeah. So he never did. And I remember there was a year where we had Mexico and Madrid, I think, at the Coliseum. And it was recent too. I don't remember how many years. It was in recent years. We had Mexico and Madrid. I think it was.
Yeah.
Barcelona. Sorry, which one's the one with the burgundy shirt? Soccer.
That's Barcelona.
Okay, Barcelona. Yeah. Sorry. And they were playing against each other. And my boss, like 2 days before, he's like, "Oh, they asked me and I didn't know, but did you want any tickets to this?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like now you ask?" Like, I know so many people that have asked me for tickets for this, and I was like, I'm not even gonna be there. Like, no, thanks, Jack. Like that, thanks, dude. You could have asked me like way earlier, and I would have probably been able to figure something out, but not anymore. So, anyways, yeah, no, sorry, man. I wish I could.
No, it's okay. We'll one day go. But you have a band, right?
Yeah,
it's called the Detroit Knights. Tell us about that. How'd that happen?
Ishmael, the bass player for the band.
Yeah,
he's a good friend of mine. Like, kind of random way how our friendship started, but he literally was like some random dude that knocked on my door, and that's like legit. Like, that's how our friendship started. He knocked on my door one day, and I was like, "Who the heck are you?" And he said, "Hey, this person sent me. He said you have sound that we could, rent it from you." And I thought, "Okay, cool, yeah." And Chewy. I don't know if you know Chewy Becerra.
Becerra, yeah, bass player, yeah, good guy.
So Chewy says,
"Gosh, we all know each other here."
right. And then Chewy says, Chewy sent him, and I said, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "Dude, I think I had already knew he was supposed to show up, and he showed up really late." And this shows my character right now. When he goes, I was like, "Dude, like, you were supposed to be here an hour ago. I don't know if I can do anything." And he goes, "Dude, just get ready. Let's go get some food." All right, that's a good idea. So that was it. That was the start of the friendship. He just enticed me with food, and I said yes. And he's a bass player. He's a really good bass player. He played for Annette Moreno for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Like, he would tour as the sub-in. He was the sub for Annette Moreno's bass player, I think. I don't remember anymore. And every year, once in a while, he would hit me up and he'd go, "Dude, let's start a cover band. Let's start a cover band." And I was never into it. I just kind of like, nah, it's cool. And then late 2014, a lot of things changed for me. And early 2015, he hit me up and he's like, "Bro, I don't have a keyboard player. I need a keyboard player. We have 2 gigs." And Ricky at the time was a keyboard player. Ricky's now the drummer. Ricky was the original keyboard player. And he stepped in, and anyways, he couldn't do it. And I said yes, finally. I was like, "Dude, let's just do it." Walked into the thing, and I hate to throw somebody under the bus here, but I'm not going to say names. But I just thought, "Hey, man, I hate to tell you this, but if you want this to get any better, you got to change your drummer." And we did the gigs. They were disaster. Like, disaster. Both of them were really bad. And I walked away and I said, "Hey, look, I'm sorry. I just came in to fill in for Ricky, and I didn't know Ricky." And he came in one day and he saw me play, and he's like, "Dude, you're really good." And I thought, "Dude, you're crazy. Like, you're an amazing keyboard player. Ricky can play guitar. Ricky can play bass."
He's a beast.
Yeah,
he's good.
He can play,
I know he's good on drums.
Yeah, drums, bass, guitar, keyboards. Keyboards is like his main thing. He's insane.
I've seen him play before. I'm like, "Dude, you can shred."
Yes. And he's like, "You're good." And I thought, nah. And then Ishmael had the crazy idea. And he said, "Well, why don't we just start another band?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he goes, "Yeah, you'll play keys and Ricky will play drums." And I go, "Ask him first and see what he says." So he did. And he agreed to it. We got together, and it was just like, it was like your friend. I never knew him really well, but it felt like he was your long lost friend that you hadn't met, and we just clicked. The 4 of us just clicked. It was me, obviously, and then Ricky, Ishmael, and then Chepe, guitar player. Yeah. Chepe's legendary in LA.
Yeah,
I've heard him play.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
He's insane. He was on Moreno's guitar player for, gosh, I don't even know how long. That guy traveled all over South America, and I know he did a couple overseas and stuff like that too. So he is insane. And I remember walking in kind of nervous because it was Chepe, and I was like, "No, let's just have fun." And it worked out. And honestly, is 2015 April, I think it was kind of when we officially started, and we're still together. Yeah. And
you guys are sick. By the way, they played at my wedding, and I definitely recommend them.
The funny thing is that we were recently like searching some stuff, and we were at a website, and I'm like, "Yo, that's me." the Detroit. It's like on the Detroit nights, but it's like they have pictures of your wedding. I'm like, oh, I'm right there.
Yes. We had to. I think we had Susie. What's her name?
The photographer.
Your photographer.
Suze,
yeah. I ended up emailing her, and I just kind of said, hey man, if you could just hook us up with whatever you have. She was very kind and gracious to do so. I offered money. She didn't take it.
Oh, and, she's awesome. We had her here on the podcast too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did see that. That's right. Yeah, so she was nice enough to send us that. We were able to get some pictures for that. I think in the last like 2 years, we kind of now branching into more strictly, because originally it was just more like party, have fun with it. But eventually that gets kind of tiring. And if you want to kind of pursue this, like, at least for me, it's kind of like a side hustle. This is it, for me. I'm like, let's do something with it. So then that's when it became weddings and corporate stuff. And we've done like L'Oreal. We did something for L'Oreal.
Nice.
Obviously, we've done a lot of things for the LA Zoo. Like quite often, I think we've done. Within the last 3 years, at least 2 to 3 gigs a year with them, and we started free for them. We did it.
Wow.
We did one of those Christmas ones that they do. They they don't pay anyone. And,
the night lights, right? Or
yes,
something like that.
One.
Yeah.
We did one of those, and they don't pay anyone for that. And we just like, all right, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And we're glad we did, because that opened up a whole bunch of other stuff.
And that's very important. Like sometimes you do have to give your work for free to be able to get in the door.
Yes.
Like I know a lot of times, like a lot of people want to, like, I want to do like photography for like Nike or for this or for that. And you're just like, it's a lot of work to get there. Why don't you
start with the little leagues?
Start with the little leagues.
High schools. And
then, start doing even photography for yourself. Like, hey, I'm going to do this product photography for Nike, and just do it your own, and then they'll see your stuff.
Yeah. The downside to that is that you hear of those quite often, though. Like, oh, we're not going to be able to pay you, but you're going to get a ton of exposure. And my first thought is, what are you guys doing? Like, let's start there. Like, or what is this? And then you kind of go from there, And sure enough, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I have to say, like, for most audio engineers or even anyone in general, because I always kind of try to tell people, like, get what you're worth. Especially if you're like, you've been doing this for quite a while. Like, dude, you're worth it. Like, if your product shows it, you're worth it. So don't always just go with like, oh man, we're gonna be doing this for this person and this person. Like, I'm sorry, man, but I've been doing this for quite a while, and I think I'm valuable enough to where I think you should be paying me for my time. And it's unfortunate because, sure, some people might think you're arrogant or whatever, but I think you got to value yourself before anyone else can actually value you.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you got to pay bills.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to pay bills. It's your hustle. It's your career.
Yeah. So. And yeah, look, I mean, we have done a few of those. I think we've done a few where pro bono completely, and depending on what you tell the guys are gonna give, like, I don't know how we can go here, but let's not go there. But some of the guys are like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, they're cool with it. Whatever, like anything small thing, if it's like pictures or a cool spot they're gonna be at, like, oh, that's a cool spot, yeah, let's do it. So I think off the top of my head, I think we've only done 4 of those, 4 free gigs. Everything else has been corporate, the lighthouse, and then weddings. Man, I love weddings. Those are my favorite.
They're fun, huh?
Oh, I love weddings.
That's so crazy. As a photographer, some photographer, you need to have like, I've never done wedding photography, but man, it seems like it's so hard.
I think I quit photography after I did my wedding. No, I really did. It was so like
stressful.
It's stressful. It's tiring. I guess when you're starting out, you don't charge much. You're like, oh yeah, just give me $1,000 or something, and to do like 10 to 13 hours. And for me, my biggest thing is the pressure of having to give good quality.
Yeah,
it's always on the back of my, like, what if they're not good? And I just get so stressed. That stresses me out. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it for myself. Or that's when I got into product, and that's actually my job now. I'm a product photographer.
Dude, I've seen some of the stuff you do. It's great, man. Thank you. Your lighting, everything. I'm like, man, that looks awesome.
Yeah, that's my job now. So that pays the bills.
Hopefully this will one day.
Yeah, right, exactly. Correct. And how has COVID kind of affected your life now? Obviously, you're still working, right? So that's good. Yeah. But I'm sure there's been
finally now kind of working.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember the day. It was March 17th, I think, if I'm not correct off the top of my head. And I remember just getting an email from, I also work for Cal State Long Beach, directly for the Carpenter Center. I remember getting an email from them, and I just, this is happening. We're shutting down. I was like, dang, this is real. I remember hearing about it. My buddy's gig got canceled in Palm Springs, and dude, I'm sorry, going back and forth. And then so that happened. And then my boss texted me from ATK, hey, this isn't happening. I was at church. Hey, this is not happening. Hey, this is not happening. And then all of a sudden it was just like, everything is done. And we had an emergency meeting that same day at church because of everything that was happening. And my pastor just kind of says, we're not firing anyone. We're going to figure this out, effective leave immediately. We're not telling everyone, but we're going online. And then within 2 days, we'll find out. So just be ready. Like, do what you need to do. Grab whatever you need to grab. We might have to figure out how to do this from home.
That's good leadership.
And I was like, all right, cool. So we did. Yeah, within amongst ourselves in the creative arts department, we just kind of said, all right, grab a camera, grab a microphone, grab a DI, and grab an interface. Everyone, just in case we needed to do something, we would figure it out from home, and then we would edit everything and figure it out. So we did. That's exactly what we did. And for months, that's how it was. And then, eventually we got bored of it, so we started getting creative. It's like, hey, let's do a virtual band, So send this to everyone, and then send it back to us. We'll edit it. We'll put it on the service. And that's what it became. The cool thing about COVID, and this is what I found the only upside to it, because still to date, it drives me crazy, but was that it pushed me to do video. I was strictly an audio guy, a little bit of video experience and some lighting experience. But that pushed me to just dive into video, streaming, editing. And I mean, at this point, I never thought about lighting, like in the sense of for videography or something. And it just, dude, it's a whole nother ballpark, but it's been amazing. And I gotta say, for me, now I'm like, oh yeah, I know this camera, I know this lens, I know this light, I know how this light works, I know what type of lens you need, I know what type of filter you need, I know it was just a whole bunch of different stuff. So COVID really pushed me to stretch myself to figure out a new form of making money. And the crazy thing was that a lot of churches needed help. A lot of churches didn't know what to do in this situation. They didn't, especially Latinos, like they didn't think about streaming. Some of them had to bust out their phone and just go live to Facebook, and then eventually they were figuring out, they called me because they know me. I mean, I started out in church, and I think I was able to build a relationship with a lot of churches to where a lot of churches will now still call me and ask me for help, and I'll gladly help them because that's where I came from. So for me, that was the cool thing, because it opened up a completely different path, and it showed me that whether there's a struggle, whether there's a way, or something, you could figure out a way. And this was the way for me. I'm like, cool. And people were like, dude, it's too much work. I'm like, I kind of like it. It's kind of fun, man.
It is kind of fun. It is a lot of fun. It's fun. And then when you make it as a living, you're like, dude, I'm never working a day in my life.
Yeah. I mean, no, I work for me is my out, now I have a family. I have a 3-month-old. I have a 7-year-old foster, and my wife, who I love dearly, she's a singer, and I feel like both of us, our ministry is us, and she's now strictly works for her father, but that's where I met her at my church where I'm at now. But I think for the most part, whenever I get a gig, for me it's like, yes. It's not, I gotta go to work. No, it's like, yes, this is my out. Just because I'm working, I'm busy, I'm doing stuff, but I find it relaxing, even though at the end of the day you're tired or whatever. But it's still cool. You're doing what you love. You're not going to the office or dealing with the man, even though you do have a bunch of
deal with the man upstairs. But what's next for your career? I mean, you've done so much. I'm sure you have goals, and I'm sure, you want to take the Detroit Knights to somewhere else, or what is next?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit Knights has always been a cool thing, and we've talked about it. This last year, we did not expect COVID to be so bad. We actually had a whole bunch of weddings lined up this year, and they all got pushed back, or either canceled or pushed back. But we do have something coming up in January with them. Pretty cool companies we're doing some stuff with. But as far as personal stuff goes, I've been with my church now for 5 years, a little bit over 5 years. And that was cool. Just being there and learning, because I had to learn. I mean, I had to learn video and I had to learn lighting as outside of my normalcy. Anything music related or audio related, I've always been good at, and I love it. But now that my family's growing, I guess this is might come as a surprise to some if they hear this or they see this. But one of our prayers now is like, should we move from California? Should we leave California? And that's been a long kind of an ongoing prayer that we have, just because we feel like opportunities here, they're not completely gone. They're still there. This is the especially here in LA. This is the city to live in if you want to make it as an artist, and if you want to be anything in the arts or entertainment. This is it. This is where you're gonna do it. But then you have cities like Seattle, Portland, Chicago, New York.
Chicago.
Yeah, dude, I love Chicago.
Sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, I love Chicago. That's my favorite city in the States. Anywhere like Miami,
Texas,
the big places. Texas is like the one anyone can go to. But yeah, that at least for us, if I want to stay in the career I'm in, I have to choose one of those, or Nashville. Everyone's talking. A lot of people are doing Nashville.
Big into music, right?
Yeah. Huge. I've known people that have moved to Nashville, and I have known people that have left Nashville, and now they're here. So, anyways, that's it for us, because as far as music goes, that would be my only route. My wife is a singer, but she's also has a degree in like music ministry, and I think like pastor or something like that. Off the top of my head, she's probably gonna kill me for this. So church, that's her go-to. And ministry wise, we both will do ministry anywhere as long as God calls us. So for now, I think definitely it's just continued prayer to see where God leads us. But I think that the California exodus is probably going to be it.
And it's been huge. 2020 has a lot of people gotten out. I know a couple people that are like, we're leaving to Texas. We're leaving to Texas. I'm like, wow, okay, cool.
Honestly, we've all talked about it. Like
I've talked about it. Yeah.
It's just some of the things here in this state is kind of getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you think about like, oh, I want to buy a house, and nothing's cheaper than like 500,000.
No.
And
we made an offer at the beginning of the year.
Oh, did you really?
We did, and we went into escrow. And once we did the inspection, we found too many things wrong with it, so we pulled out. And we didn't lose any money, thank God. But no more than like 2-3 weeks later was when COVID hit, and we're like, thank you, Lord, that didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah, because I think we put in an offer for like $512 on a house in Long Beach. We love Long Beach. We were like, we're gonna stay here.
Long Beach is cool, man.
Yeah, Long Beach is nice.
It's everything's changed though. This whole year, I think it's shown us a lot about California in general, or LA.
It's shown so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve, I want to thank you. We want to thank you so much for having you with us. We wish we could do this for another hour, to be honest. I think.
Yeah, you have a lot of wisdom. Your story is
interesting. But if you had to attribute your success to either your hard work and dedication, or God's blessings and Him opening doors, how would you break that up?
I've always said this. I've always said that God has ordered my steps. That's always been a thing. And I've also always said that anywhere He takes me, He's taken me there for success. Even at the church where I'm at now, I remember the first year I was there, the first couple of weeks I was there was a lot of changes, things happening. And I don't know what was happening. And I just gotten there. And there was this sense of like downness. And I just kind of felt like I needed to say something. And I just kind of said, hey, I said that, God's never taken me into anything and it's just fallen apart. It's always been taking me somewhere and it becomes something great. and it becomes something cool. So I'm not saying that it's because of me, but if I'm here, it's because God has something that we're going to be in this church, and I'm going to be a part of it. And I'm going to be glad to be a part of this too. You know, we're all going to be. And they kind of just like it switched, and they got really in a good mood. And it was kind of nice for them to hear like the new guy saying this. So God, man, like I feel like the creative aspect that we have is because of him. He's the ultimate creator, and we have that because of him. We have the ability, the knowledge. Some of us have it better than others. That's like hands down,
right?
You know, I see videos and I see people post them, and I'm like, man, how did he do that? You know, it's like that's so cool, and I appreciate people that do it good. You know, I'm not one to like hate on people. That's a struggle here we all have.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, coming from that mindset where you know he's the one that kind of has given you that talent, I think it's good because it allows you to humble yourself to really let him be the one that makes it better for you. Because you know you can shoot really well, you know you can play really well, you know you can mix the heck out of a band, but like if you go in there and saying, God, all right, like how can you make me better? How can I be better for you? And then actually try to execute it. That's like the cooler thing. I recently kind of went back into the recording in studios and stuff like that. And it's opened up a whole new playing field for me because I haven't done recording in 12, 13 years. And now I'm back into mixing that kind of stuff. And I love it because it's different. You realize that the game is now way different. Back in my days, they had plugins, but I barely knew anything about it. And now I feel like I'm actually diving into it and learning more. And, you know, guys like Daniel, I'm sure like, dude, you're behind, you know, but I'm live. So yeah. I'm doing live sound. So now it's a completely different thing for me or newer. And I'm just getting ready to kind of know just, all right, God, what you got? What do you got for me?
That's good. That's so good. Thanks, Steve. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
We enjoyed your story. I'm sure our listeners will enjoy your story. And congrats on, you know, just your new baby. I know you just had your baby. And
3 months yesterday.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, where can people find you?
You know, I've had my website under construction for God knows how many years. I probably should really finish it. But you know, Instagram and Facebook. I think that's the best way. It's always been a form of communication. People hit me up from random places. And
what's your Instagram username?
Steve the Sound Guy. Steve the Sound Guy. That's kind of been it for quite a while now. Except for Facebook. Facebook is just still Steve Sandoval. You know, and yeah, I think that's the easiest way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and we wish you the best of luck. And we're excited to see what's next for you. And we know that God's going to open many more doors for you.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully, you guys bring me back, man. This was fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.